Hello y'all, this is Kaiserredux, a mod for Hearts of Iron 4 that acts as a standalone expansion for the Kaiserreich mod. It focuses on fun and interesting scenarios over realism and grounded lore. Kaiserreich itself takes place in a world where the Central Powers won World War I. We're going to be playing in the region of Central America as the country known as Guatemala. Our starting ruling party ideology is authoritarian democracy, and our national spirits are Monroe Doctrine, socialist compensation, United Fruit Company, and illiteracy. Our starting military consists of 2 infantry divisions, no navy, and a small air wing of fighters. Looking at the army commanders next, we actually have more field marshals than we have generals, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Inspecting the military research tech, we have the most basic of weapons, no tanks, basic artillery, and for aircraft we just have access to interwar fighters. Let's begin the focus tree with Oriana's speech. The name is referring to the Guatemala country leader. Then after that we'll do industrial investments, new development schemes, and attract migrants. In the decisions tab, we may have to ease up the conscription law because we're not even at war anyway, but more importantly is the fact we can form the Central American Republic, though we gotta wait until 1938 to even have a chance to do it. Intro to Guatemala. From 1898 to 1920, the quote Liberal Party controlled the country. During this time, the United Fruit Company saw their influence greatly increase. The Liberal Party lost power in 1920 to the Unionist Party, who rose to prominence after a bad response to damage caused by earthquakes. The Unionist Party was overthrown by a military coup after failing to give concessions to the UFC in 1921. Jose Maria Oriana became the new country leader, and the political situation has stagnated since then. We are wasting no time in expanding our armed forces. It would just be a couple new units, but once they're deployed, that means the army practically doubled in size. The great economical calamity, Black Monday, has happened. Coming from Germany, it hits the USA first. Then in a ripple effect, our own economy suffers next. The final ratification of the Guatemala-El Salvador-Honduras border treaty. We can accept this treaty or reject it. Let's go with the latter, cause spoiler, we're looking to make our country bigger in the future. A group of peasants sued the UFC and some governors on the grounds of having their land sold by other parties without their knowledge. It is thought that socialists pressured these peasants. Let's go with the second choice in this event. Even though we'll lose party popularity, we will gain base stability. To the south, at the very bottom of South America, Manuel Carles assumes full control over the country of Argentina. There is more to be done in the focus tree. Let's complete, greatly increase education budget, promote the teaching profession, import American know-how, tighten the Mexican border, start revoking socialist reforms, and intensify anti-socialist propaganda. Our neighbors Honduras and El Salvador are having a bit of a scuffle in the form of what I think is a border war. I'm not really sure what the reason is for this fighting. Comparing the ideologies of the two countries, Honduras is authoritarian democracy like Guatemala, and El Salvador is national populist. Using political power, let's get ourselves some military staff. For chief of staff, we will get the guy specialized in mass combat, and for the chief of army, we'll select Jorge Ubico, who will boost division attack. Honduras and El Salvador stopped fighting one another, so there is peace in the region for the time being. Looking up to the United States of America, they recently had their election and they went with Huey Long. On the topic of the USA, their base stability doesn't look so good. The US seems to be succumbing to some sort of civil war because now there is 3 of them. Things have changed again in America, especially the borders, because a couple new countries have appeared, and I'm not sure if all of these breakaway states like each other. Full-blown civil war has broken out, with the USA busy finding itself. Their influence across the Americas will fall, and the enforcing of the Monroe Doctrine will become quite difficult. Thanks to the start of the American Civil War, we have unlocked a new part of focus tree relating to the army. Let's go ahead and do stop relying on the Monroe Doctrine, and our blood will flow for Guatemala. With the conflict in the US of A, the biggest trading partner our country has, almost disappeared overnight. We lose a great deal of base stability and ideology popularity. With no one around to stop them, the Kingdom of Canada declares war on Panama. To make matters worse, they called in their ally, the French national state, so Panama will have to fight 2 countries at once. Another border war in Central America. This one involves Nicaragua, who is radical socialist, and Honduras. Costa Rica joins the Entente faction. The Entente is Canada's faction. This means the Canadians and their allies will have a direct land route to Panamanian territory. Checking in on South America, Argentina finds itself at war on two fronts, one being with Chile and the other is Patagonia. Paraguay joins the brawl and attacks Argentina. This will force the Argentines to fight on three sides against three countries. The plot in South America thickens because Bolivia has decided to declare war on Paraguay. The letter of the 311, a group of Democrats and Socialists wrote a letter to the president asking for him to resign and for free elections to start as soon as possible. If this letter is rejected, a civil war could occur because the Democratic movement has militarized. Let's accept their terms and prepare for elections, even though that will enrage the military. Because of that event, a focus has been bypassed. The next thing we want to do is try to make sure the focus Ubico takes the throne will be available to us and that we can complete it in the future. This isn't just a skirmish on the border anymore. Things are heating up because Nicaragua has declared war on Honduras. With the weakness of the president being shown, General Jorge Ubico Castañeda enters the capital with a loyal army and coups the government. The Democratic Socialist Coalition declares the new regime illegitimate, and so the civil war starts. Jorge Ubico Castañeda has become the new country leader, and he is a representative of the paternal autocrat Fuerzas Armadas de Guatemala, or in English, the Armed Forces of Guatemala. Jorge Ubico historically was a dictator who held power as the president of Guatemala from 1931 to 1944. He gave massive concessions to the United Fruit Company, compared himself to Adolf Hitler, and had the nicknames of Number 5 and Central America's Napoleon. He was obsessed with Napoleon and surrounded himself with statues and paintings of the French emperor, and regularly commented on the similarities they had in appearance, be they true or not. Ubico makes a speech to the people in the capital. He speaks against his enemies and calls for unity to stand against the opposing National Progress Party. This event will give us base stability and a boost in ideology popularity. Opening strategy. It seems that this civil war will take place through events. Let's go with the first choice here that says secure the temporary borders. Not 1 mile will be ceded. In the focus tree, let's do streamline gun production. Use the military as workforce and every man on deck. The only thing that will change this order is if Ubico takes the throne becomes available. El Salvador is looking a little red. They're called the Salvadorian Commune now. They got a new flag and they are of the syndicalist ideology. The borders have been secured and we must choose a target. We could directly assault the rebel capital or starve them out by cutting them off from the Mexican border. Let's go with the latter option, even though it could be dangerous. News from South America. Peru declared war on Ecuador. I wonder how the situation in Argentina is going. I mean, Argentina is still alive, though the borders look a tad bit different. Panama got annexed by the Kingdom of Canada, and as for Costa Rica, they're at war with Afghanistan, cause factions. The siege of Ciudad de Belice, to cut off the rebels from their supply plan, is working, and even though Mexico is assisting the rebellion, they probably won't bother intervening in the war. Nicaragua and Honduras are still at war, and it appears, just looking at the territorial gains and losses alone, Honduras is on defense. For a ideological comparison, Honduras is social conservative and Nicaragua is radical socialist. While Guatemalan troops finish securing the Mexican border, the rebels gather all their resources for a final attack on the capital. We will let them come in and engage in brutal street-to-street fighting while our forces occupy their defenseless land. Our northern neighbor, the United Mexican States, joins the Third International faction, who mainly has members in Europe. The civil war ends, the rebellion is crushed as government troops encircle the remaining forces in the capital, and Jorge Ubico has secured his place in power. The Honduras-Nicaragua conflict ends with a Nicaraguan victory and the creation of a puppet state in Honduras. As a result, this leaves Guatemala surrounded on all sides by radical socialist or syndicalist countries. A grand statue of Ubico is placed in Ciudad de Guatemala. This event will give us more of that sweet base stability. Puerto Rico is gone, but more important to us is the fate of El Salvador. Soon we will be going to war with the Salvadorian Commune. War has started. There is only one province that will let us get into enemy land, so the first thing we will try is an all-out assault. Brute force did not work, so a fallback line has been made to try and lure the Salvadorian forces out so we can surround them. It worked, This will greatly reduce resistance as we send some troops into El Salvador to take their cities. While we are at war, let's do the focuses: intensify patrols on the Mexican border, eradicate the opposition, and renew the good relations with the UFC. The Salvadorian army is marching out of their capital. Let's let them do that so we can swoop in and take it without a fight. One division will pin down their unit, while another one of ours will march into San Salvador. We are victorious, and we have already begun justifying a war goal on Honduras because they are a puppet of Nicaragua. That country will be dragged into the fight once it starts. The justification will be done in June 1938. Since they lost their army in that war in the past, the Honduran military itself shouldn't be too big. We do have a maximum supported divisions mechanic. To make up for this, we're going to have to go for quality over quantity, and we'll do that by expanding the size of our divisions. El Salvador has been made into a puppet of Guatemala. They will be very helpful in the battles to come. Argentina finally has some peace, though that said, Patagonia won, and Paraguay is most likely going to lose to Bolivia. We're building the city of Guatemala. Let's go with the first choice. That will give the state another building slot. Cuba invites us to a meeting to discuss economic cooperation between Caribbean and Central American nations. Let's say we will attend. Yet Paraguay lost. Now we get to see Big Bolivia. News from Cuba. Basically, the Caribbean Summit, as it is called, went very well. I just have now noticed there exists across the sea a third empire of Haiti. El Salvador sends an embassy. How nice of them. In what was Argentina, the declaration of the Patagonian Workers' Front takes place. Let's finish up our political focuses with Napoleonic military state, cult of personality, a new constitution for our great leader, and onward together for Ubico. Nicaragua forms the Revolutionary Front. It is a pact that is a threat to our regime's existence. A plot to assassinate the country leader has been found out, but we don't know who planned it. Let's tell the press the socialists are behind it. On a subject relating to the United Fruit Company, Miss Chiquita has been introduced to help boost sales, and it's working apparently. The final conflict is near. Central America will be changed forever, and only one side can come out on top. Nicaragua is preparing for war. Speaking of which, let's check on Honduras. They only have at most, I think, let's see here, 2 divisions, so the Nicaraguans will be doing a lot of the fighting for their side. The war is underway, and we're going on offense, and we have brought in Salvadorian troops to give us more firepower. We have made a breakthrough, and once we're able, we will try to flank around and push into northern Honduras. With the enemy occupied, we're going to go behind their lines with a cavalry division and take some of their territory. A lot of Nicaragua's army has been cut off and isolated. This will allow us to send more troops into their country. There is a single militia able to defend their capital. Everything else just remains more or less stuck. No one is in Leon and Managua. They're lost because together, those places are worth a lot of victory points. The foe is defeated. Guatemala has become massive and controls a good portion of Central America as a result. With everything needed under our influence or control, let's use the decision to form the Central American Republic. We have a special choice we can make here. We can either unite Central America like normal, or make it into the Central American Empire and make Ubico known as Jorge I. You know which one I'm going to pick. The Central American Empire is born. We got a new flag with first French Empire influences, and Jorge I, as he is now known, goes all in on the Napoleon Bonaparte fanboying or LARP, whatever you want to call it. Guatemala came a long way, but perhaps somewhere the ghost of the real Napoleon is proud of his admirer, or maybe confused. The video is going to stop here. If you enjoyed the mod, make sure to check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment. Have an awesome day. I'll see you all later. Bye.